Whenever you're ready, Mr. Dean.
All right, good afternoon. I'm Jimmie Harp. I'm the District Attorney in Etowah County. Today we are very pleased with the verdicts that we have gotten in the case of State of Alabama versus Joyce Hardin Garrard. We believe that Savannah Hardin has received justice today, something that we've been looking forward to since February the 17th of 2012. We were pleased with the jury's verdict of capital murder, and we're also very satisfied with the verdict we got today. It was a 7-5 decision for life without parole. This jury, we felt like paid very good attention to the evidence in this case. They did an outstanding job in what sometimes was a very difficult environment. And we certainly respect their recommendation to Judge Ogletree as far as sentencing goes, as we did their verdict in capital murder. You know, the Sheriff's Department and I and our staff sat together right after the death in this case, and we evaluated it, and we felt like it was a capital murder case. And as the investigation went on, we felt stronger about it. We submitted it to the jury as a capital murder case, and we were very pleased that they found her guilty of capital murder and reaffirmed the fact that we thought that was the case from the beginning. I'd like to thank a lot of people. The Sheriff's Department in this case did an outstanding job from the day this became a criminal matter up until today. They provided security for all the parties in this case. They've done an outstanding job. I want to thank my office. I believe, honestly, I have the best group of prosecutors in the state of Alabama. We got a great team from Mr. Reed, Ms. Griffith, Bryn Crane, Sarah Holland, my victims advocate, Diane Britton, to my entire staff. I mean, this took a long time and a lot of manpower to get this case to go. We had people like Bikers Against Child Abuse come. We had vocal representatives, people from the Berry Center. Dr. Emily Ward, I thought, did an outstanding job in coming and bringing and presenting to the jury the forensic findings in this case. She's had a tough time with some medical issues, and she did a very good job, and we can't say enough about her testimony in this case. There are plenty others who participated in the case on the witness stand that we'd like to thank, but also I'd like to thank the members of this community who packed that courtroom every day to make sure that Savannah Hardin got justice, and again, I believe she did, and we're happy. I saw somebody across the street a while ago releasing balloons in her honor, and I was very moved and touched by that. And I don't think there'll ever be another day go by in my career, in the careers of the people standing to the left of me, that we don't think about Savannah Hardin and the horrible death that she was caused to have. It came up in closing argument, and I'll repeat it again. It's the first time as a district attorney in 25 years I've been a prosecutor, the first time since I've been a lawyer, that I've ever seen a case where a child was forced to participate in their own death. I can't imagine anything worse than that. And that's something that will stick with the members of this prosecutorial team, and something that will haunt a lot of people around this community for a while. The children at Carlisle Elementary School have suffered, and I think today they have some closure. The Carlisle community, I think today they have some closure. The people of Etowah County, I think today have some closure. And you know, this case became a media sensation basically because, you know, it was different. We haven't had many cases before where somebody has had to participate in their own death, especially 3 hours worth of long and protracted, grueling exercise at the point in time where they just couldn't go anymore and were required to do so. And so, you know, there are people in this nation who today feel like justice has been served. And, you know, I have read, just like each of you have read, whether it be Facebook posts or blogs or comments to various newspaper articles they were written, about, you know, what should happen to the defendant, or how it should happen, and you know how she should be punished. But you know, I don't want you to forget, walking out here today, that we live in a great country. We've got the best criminal justice system in the world, The jury, in this case, knew everything we had. We put every witness up we had. They knew everything that was in our files. I felt like our staff was prepared. And again, when a jury renders a verdict, the state is satisfied with the verdict, knowing that they've heard what we did, and they are a cross-section of this community, and they made their decision, and we are absolutely pleased with both verdicts in this case. At this time, I'll ask Chief Deputy District Attorney Marcus Reed to give some comments, if he would, and then we'll continue down the road and go from there.
Okay, I'm Marcus Reed. That's REID. I'm the Chief Deputy District Attorney here at Etowah County. I want to add just a few things to what Mr. Harp just told you. First of all, I think we cannot thank all the people who are responsible for this verdict without making special mention of the neighbors involved, Chad and Jolie Jacobs and LaDon Hudgens, who did come forward and tell what they saw, and they have unfortunately been criticized, we believe, unfairly. We know unfairly. People have accused them and said, why didn't they do more? Why didn't they intervene? Those people don't know all the facts. Those people aren't aware of all the circumstances in this case. If we had not had the active participation and the good citizenship of those neighbors who saw what they saw and came forward, this will be an unsolved death. We would have no idea what happened to Savannah Hardin. Savannah Hardin would not have received justice in the courts of Etowah County. And these people deserve, and they should receive, the thanks of everybody in this community for coming forward and doing what they did. They were attacked on the witness stand. They were unfairly criticized. People have thrown all kinds of barbs their way who don't know all the facts. They should be thanked. They are heroes in this case. In addition to all the law enforcement personnel who got involved, this was a thoroughly investigated case. From the time it came to our attention, the Etowah County Sheriff's Department, Sheriff Entrican, Chief Investigator Mike Jones have done a yeoman's job, along with all the investigators in this case, of scouring that community, developing all the evidence that needed to be developed, participating in the preparation of this case, and the trial of this case. And the folks in this community are very, very fortunate to have the caliber of law enforcement that we have. And finally, I want to add my thanks to the staff of the Etowah County District Attorney's Office. Mr. Harp, our leader, inspires us. He provides us with what we need, and he's in the courtroom. He's a warrior in the courtroom alongside all the deputies. And I think the folks need to know the caliber of man we have leading this Etowah County District Attorney's Office. Once again, we want to thank this community for all you've done in supporting this office and supporting the prosecution of this case. And we are very pleased with this verdict. We're very pleased with the efforts of this jury and seeing through all the distractions, all the smoke screens, and seeing the truth and convicting this woman of capital murder, which is what she's guilty of. And there's more to come. We've got other cases upstairs, and we're ready to go on those. Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Carol Griffith, Griffith. I'm one of the Deputy District Attorneys here in Etowah County. And for most of you know that I handle primarily cases that involve child victims. And I don't want to be repetitive of what everyone else has said. We can't say enough about this jury, about these witnesses, and about the investigation that was done in this case, but I don't want to just labor over that more. What I do want to tell you all is that it's not possible to deal with this type of a case with a child victim and with a case that we've all basically lived with for the past 3 years. And that includes the entire staff of the Sheriff's Department, everybody in the District Attorney's Office. You know, you get so involved with it that you can't help but feel attached to it. And I think that there's no better team in the state to have handled this type of a case and for this long than what we have dealt with here. And I'm grateful for that that collaboration with law enforcement and with our office. And for the parents of this child who was taken away from everyone so early on, particularly Heather Walker, who was not able to be here for the bulk of the trial, but who came in and was particularly heart-wrenching with her testimony on Monday. I hope that this gives her at least some bit of closure and some feeling of that they've reached some type of a justice for her child, because I can't imagine the pain that she still goes through, as all of you saw the other day when she was in court. We also appreciate you guys for the work that you do and for staying with us for this long. It's unusual for all of us involved to be dealing with a case that lasts this long and goes on over such a period of time with breaks and everything else. It's been a particularly difficult case. So thank you for that, and thank you for the team that we have here. That's all. We have next Brandon Crane.
I'm going to be very brief because I think I can't say anything that hasn't already been said, but my name is Brandon Crane. It's BRYNN CRAIN. I am also a Deputy District Attorney at the Etowah County District Attorney's Office. I am beyond happy that we were able to get justice for Savannah. I'm beyond happy that we were able to bring closure to the people of this community that they've been waiting for 3 years for this. And I want to thank the Etowah County Sheriff's Department and all other law enforcement that were that took part and were responsible for the investigation in this case. I want to thank the jury for their hard work, their patience, their attentiveness, and their verdict. And I want to thank our team. We have a great team, and Jimmy's a great leader, and we work well together, and we worked really hard in this case. And it was worth every late night, every weekend that we worked on this case. And I want to thank you guys for being there and for being with us throughout this whole thing. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Chief Mike Jones from the Etowah County Sheriff's Office. I would like to thank the investigators that worked this case. They put in a lot of hard hours. They came in early. They stayed late. They never complained. It's something that really touched our whole Sheriff's Office as a whole. If they had to go to Birmingham, Huntsville, no matter where they had to go, they were willing to do that, take the time to do that, no matter how late it was at night. And I'd like to thank the DA's office. You call them at 2 o'clock in the morning, they'll answer it. If you've got a question, if we're doing something, they're always there for us. They were in this case from the very first day. We called and they were there on the spot to lend any advice. And I'd like to thank the jury for their hard work, and we're thankful for their decision. Thank you.
Well, I get the honor of being the last one to close this out, so everybody said everything already. And here's what I'm gonna say, and I don't mean this, folks, is, you know, there's a lot of people across this country, across the state of Alabama and in this county, said that we couldn't convict her. This group right here brought this case together, and they convicted a woman of a crime that she was guilty of. They stood there for Savannah from the day one, and today, you know, we got the verdict that we needed. We got returned the sentence that was needed in this case, and I can't thank them enough. There's no way I'll ever be able to thank this district attorney's office and my investigative staff and my deputies that had to work the security and take care of her during this whole case, and all the people it took to put this case together. I can't, as the sheriff of this county, thank everybody enough. Again, the neighbors up there that come forward, the Jacobs that called to get this started, we wouldn't have known about it. But they made the call, and once they made this call, everybody stepped up together and put this case together. I've been fortunate to work in this county for a long time. I've worked through several district attorneys. I've worked with a lot of people, a lot of different law enforcement agencies. And right now, this office works together as well or better than any I've ever seen. And that's where we make a difference in this county. These people make a difference in people's lives every day. And yeah, we have a lot of other cases pending in this county. A lot of them are hard cases, but guess what? This group right here, I feel strongly will be able to take every one of them and reach the verdict that it's deserved for each one of them. So, you know, today, there's a lot of people thank a lot of people, but the spotlight should be on this office right here, the District Attorney's Office of Etowah County. Thank you for what you do. Thank you.
At this time, we'll open it up for questions. A couple of questions. Just please direct your questions to whomever you're specifically.
Mr. Harp, if you could, just what initially didn't ring true about the story that you guys heard from Joyce Garrard? We heard that, you know, there were some things that didn't add up at first, and can you kind of talk about that?
Well, I think during the very early course of the report, the investigation, it was right after the autopsy that we knew something wasn't right. You know, we learned from Dr. Emily Ward that this child, for all intents and purposes, was dead in that front yard, and we knew something wasn't right. And that's when the Jacobs, other people started deciding that we needed to come forward. At that point in time, we knew something wasn't right. And it, you know, the investigators in this case, like Chief Investigator Jones said, hopped on this case, scoured that neighborhood, scoured the community, left no stone unturned until we found out what the actual facts are in this case. And again, but for their hard work and the hard work of many in the Sheriff's Department, the law enforcement community, and forensic sciences, we'd have a unsolved crime or natural death. We wouldn't have known. And you know, it takes a group of people who put their differences aside in a case like this. You know, we've tried other cases before. We tried the Tolles case. We tried Timothy Boyle's case. We've done this before, and it took the cooperation of the Sheriff's Department and our office and forensic sciences and others to know pretty quick that something wasn't right. We didn't know exactly what it was at that time, but you know, it didn't take us very long to get a good picture of what happened in the yard. One of the things I wanted to mention a while ago that I'm most happy about is that we started off this case telling this jury that a discipline of a child should never end in death, ever. And they agreed with us, and that makes me feel great. I think that's a message that needs to be sent around this country, that there are alternative ways to discipline your children, but serious physical injury and death is not one of them. And unfortunately, we see that happen more and more every day. And I hope that with the justice that we've received from Savannah today, that her legacy will be to parents who would have a thought of crossing the line, that I don't need to cross the line.
Tell us about the importance of the school bus video and the 911 call.
Well, the 911 call, you guys heard the 911 call, and it, you know, to me, the 911 call actually, you know, it just wasn't right. I mean, anybody's heard 911 calls in any other situation where there's a lifeless child laying on the ground, and you usually hear hysteria, you usually hear panic, you usually hear some kind of CPR efforts made. You know, it's kind of common sense to go into a fight or flight mode, or go into we got a rescue mode. I mean, you know what it's like, and you heard the very calm, serene language of the individuals who were on that telephone call. You know, and I know there was a lot made about the smoke versus throw deal, and you know, hand me a smoke meant something to me. You know, what were her intentions at that time? Grab me a smoke or something. You know, I thought that was something that the jury took into consideration as to her state of mind immediately after she seized and was on her way to her death. The school bus video I thought was important because Ms. Garrard in this case picked out the school bus driver who she had the conversation with to call and kind of cover her tracks, so to speak, but I don't think she realized that the school bus had video on it. The school bus video was an excellent portrait of what Joyce Garrard's state of mind was, what her demeanor was, and what she intended to do right after the school bus left. I told the jury that very rarely do I ever get a case where somebody's on videotape saying this is what I intend to do. We talked a lot about intent in this case. And if you remember when Ms. Garrard testified, she was a lot cleaner and a lot, she was dressed for trial. And it gave a sense of a different person than what the school bus video saw. And so when we were able to compare, when Mr. Reed cross-examined her, when he was able to play that school bus video, it drew a sharp contrast between what was portrayed on the stand and what actually happened that day. And I think that the school bus video was pivotal in the verdict we received for capital murder.
Explain what her communication with medical personnel did, not just for the case, but for that matter, to Savannah's life.
Well, in my opinion, if Savannah would have been able to survive the injuries in the yard, where both pathologists said they could not have. But assume for a minute that there were some efforts that could have been made that could have made a difference. When you're presented to an emergency room or a first responder, and all you're told is this child's had a seizure, well, it immediately leads them to a neurological event. This child has had a neurological event, and somebody's got to explain why. Well, when she's transported to a hospital and told everything was fine, she just fell over and had a seizure, well, the equipment at the hospital is different. The testing that's done is different than it would have been if she said she'd been running all day as punishment and hadn't had a whole lot of water, and she's been on her knees crying. And I probably should have stopped before I did, but we may need to look at hydration. That would have caused the first responders or anybody else involved to go a different direction. So when you think somebody's had a seizure for an unknown reason, you think somebody's had a seizure for an unknown reason, you're immediately going to go investigate, why has this child had a seizure? Joyce Hardin could have provided that information to the first responders, to the Mountain Brook folks, the Mountain View folks, and or the ambulance drivers, and that information could have been passed all through the course of care when she was presented at the hospital. But instead of doing that, Joyce Hardin decided to do what she punished her child for doing and lie about it. And we thought that was very important, and it was brought up today. Once you stop and think about it, she caused the child's death the first time by running her, and assuming that she could ever have survived that injury, it's almost like she killed her twice. She had the opportunity to tell the truth, and she didn't. And we thought that was a significant factor in the verdict that the jury brought back.
Can you talk about the gag order, just for the people that want to know what's going on? Why was there a gag order? Can you maybe get into I don't know to what extent that's...
The history with the gag order is that one of the defendant's attorneys, early on in this case, decided to appear on a CNN national news program and basically took a local story and turned it into a sensational story all around the country. And it was my intent that this case be tried in a courtroom. And I think it was very important that it was tried in a courtroom. We have looked forward to the day that we could address the media and answer any questions that you had. But we were concerned about Etowah County is a small county. Word travels fast, and for those of you who are from here, by the time it gets fourth hand down, there's usually something a little bit different than when it started out. We didn't want to try this case in the media. We wanted to try it before the jury that we had in the box over here. We were successful in doing that. That gag order has been lifted, and again, we're welcome any questions, welcome any conversations you guys want to have about it. The gag order is still in effect, as far as I know, for the case of Jessica Hardin. All I can say about that is she'll have her day in court. We don't expect it to be too long from now. We've got a couple of capital cases that we've got to try. They're in the hopper, but we don't expect it to be too long from now. And should she decide to go to trial, as the sheriff said, I think these folks over here are ready to do that. But as far as the evidence in that case, I can't comment on that.
Mr. Harp, what does the 7-5 vote say to you?
Well, it tells me that this jury was exactly what we hoped they would be. I told them in closing arguments, I told them in opening arguments, the consistency of this jury, the way this jury handled themselves, the demeanor that they had all throughout the trial, the ability for them to put the frustrations they had aside and listen to the evidence in this case and render a verdict of capital murder of a crime that Mr. Gerard was absolutely guilty of, said a lot to me. And my office and my staff, you know, I've got to admit that, you know, we looked long and hard, even up until today, about, you know, what do we think about the death penalty in this case? You know, you've got a female that doesn't have a criminal record. You've got mitigating factors, and it's something that at the end of the day, we felt like it wasn't our job to decide. It was the jury's job to decide. We let them do that. A 7-5 number count vote to me means that you had a lot of folks in there that spent a lot of time deliberating in this case. And again, we're very satisfied with that decision. But you know, I can't say enough about this jury in this case, and I would never want one of them to ever think we're disappointed in the verdict of life without parole. You know, I think the judge charged the jury that life without parole is just that, Jessica, that Joyce Gerard will spend the rest of her natural life in an Alabama penitentiary. And you know, that is justice for us, and we feel like it's justice for Savannah.
One more question.
This final sentencing will be the 11th of May.
Yes.
Will you, at that time, ask the judge to sentence her to death, or are you going to?
I'm going to ask the judge at that time to consider what the jury advised him to do. One thing my team did decide to do is respect the jury's verdict. We feel like, you know, again, we feel like that they heard all the evidence. They are the conscience of this community, a very good cross-section of people from this community, and we're going to respect the jury's verdict today of life without parole, and we're not going to resist at sentencing the judge carried out that sentence.
So you won't ask him to go ahead with
No,
that?
sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you all very much.
Yes.